Hey everybody, welcome back to this episode of Think Business. I'm looking forward to talking to Howie Zales. Howie, I love talking to people in this space. You are an Emmy Award-winning camera operator who turned your passion into for television broadcasting into several entrepreneurial endeavors, which I love. Your company is
Viridity
Entertainment, right? Okay, there we go. Okay, Viridity Entertainment. You guys offer best-in-class quality live streams for sports, interviews, corporate interviews, meetings, and religious services. Wow, what a platform that I know you pivoted to. Yeah. You know, you kind of started this business in 2019. You pivoted in 2020 once the pandemic hit. And so I really want to talk about how you pivoted, right?
Sure.
And, you know, I can tell you I remember, you know, in March of last year, my podcast was 3 days a week. It was a recorded podcast. I tried to play around with live streaming with Facebook. It was kind of glitchy. And then April of last year, I started doing lives every day. And it really has been a game changer for my business, the live streaming and things of that nature. So I'm anxious to kind of hear what you have to say. But talk about, you know, you start this business in 2019. We'll kind of go before that and a little bit later. But sure. In 2019, you start the company. The pandemic hits, and then you pivot. So just kind of take me to that space.
Yeah, so we started this company. Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here.
Thanks for being here.
So we started this business in 2000, right at the end of 2019, 2020, to offer more or less just payroll services to entertainment clients of ours that, you know, didn't want to bear the responsibility of having payroll. Then the pandemic hits and all of entertainment and sports, like everyone else, was shut down. So I kept thinking, what am I going to do to make money? How am I going to pivot? And as the spring was approaching, I'm Jewish, so I was talking to the rabbi at my temple, and he was like, I don't know what we're going to do. We're not going to be able to do the services that, you know, in the fall for the high holidays. And he was like flipping out. And I'm like, well, then I met some people in the business. This one guy, Jamie, we kind of hit it off, and we were talking about live streaming. And I was like, boom, there's an idea for the temple. We could live stream the services. And we got into the summer, and we started putting everything into place. And I'm like, there's got to be a way to monetize this.
Yeah.
I gotta pivot. This is it. And no sooner than did I make my mind.
I'm Jewish too, by the way. So legitimately, God came and handed it right.
I was doing gigs for God, as my friend Evan says, and I said, there's got to be a way to monetize this. And then a client called and said, you know, we got to do all these interviews, but they're with baseball players. They're all over the country, and the one interviewee interviewer can't leave her house. And I'm like, boom, this is how we're going to do it. And I laid it out, and it just grew from there. And our live streaming business was born.
It's amazing. So, all right. So you pivoted. And so what's interesting is I always think it's great. You know, you sometimes have a business, you don't necessarily know, you're clarifying, you have to pivot. And then it's just listening to what people need, want, and will pay for. Right. And so, So now you have this, you know, this company that people need, they want, and they will pay for it. And so then, you know, I want to talk a little bit about then you forecast the business and you're planning it. So how do you then kind of pivot and build out a plan?
So we did a lot of research on what was the best technology to use, right? So I was new to this, just like a lot of people, because this technology was about 5 years away. I mean, people were using it, but it wasn't really mainstream.
Well, COVID, I think, accelerated everything 5-6 years. You know, pre-COVID studies were showing that, you know, we were in a decade of really teaching adaptation, right? And colleges have been kind of figuring out, like, how do we teach our kids when studies are showing that by the year 2030, 85% of the jobs that exist do not exist today. Exactly. And so COVID, I believe, it sounds like we're on the same page, really accelerated everything 5-6 years.
Totally, without a doubt.
Yeah.
And so we did a lot of research. What equipment were we going to use? What technology were we going to use? How are we going to go about delivering broadcast quality broadcast quality productions for our clients that still wanted to get their content out, because that's what people still needed content. They still needed places to put it, but they had no means of producing it. There was no way that people were going to go to do in-person shoots. And we came up with, we found vMix, which is broadcast quality, basically TV truck in a computer. And we invested in some other equipment. We have 20 we call them our live stream camera kits. They consist of high-end computers with high-end webcams and USB microphones and ring lights and Ethernet cables, computer stands, everything that you would possibly need to do. And we send these computers out to all of the people that appear in our broadcasts. And the cool thing about it is all the computer needs is an internet connection. And then we can dial into the computer, take full control, zoom, focus, white balance, whatever you need to do, and then bring them into our production.
So cool. It's so cool. So wait, I want to rewind for a minute, because I love what you're talking about. So can I ask how old you are?
Yes, 49.
I'm 49. I'm going to be 49 this year. When's your birthday?
January 14th. So I just turned 49.
Happy birthday. May 15th. Okay. But what I love about what you're talking about is, okay, so you're 49 years old. We're seeing people in their I'm gonna say 40s, 50s, and 60s being laid off, these, or older, because of the pandemic, because of even prior to the pandemic, and having to reinvent themselves, right? Yep. Realizing that a job they've been in for 20, 30 years, that industry is obsolete, or their skill set isn't to the level it needs to be. And so I just want you to kind of talk about diving into research, right? So you understand that there's a business where people they need it, and then they will actually pay for it. And then you dive in to research it to make sure that that's a fact. But so talk to the other 40, 50, 60-year-olds out there that, with a little bit of research, some discipline, some tenacity, some drive and a plan, you can reinvent yourself.
Complete. And I did. And so for me, it starts with my morning routine, which starts the night before. I write down the three or four things I have to get done starting at 5 a.m. Then it's like a workout, eating healthy, and then boom, right into the day by 9:30. I've already done the 3 or 4 hardest things I need to do. I've worked out and I've eaten twice. So it all starts there. So a lot of my research happened at that time of day. It was quiet. No one's up. I'm able to get done what I need to get done. And the big part of my research is I'm a talker. And so I just like to talk to people. And one thought brings on another thought, brings on another question. And I was always taught, you got to listen. And to me, that's the biggest thing. And always ask how and why. How can this be done? And why is it done this way? And always, always, always remember that you're still learning something new every single day.
I love that. I am the same. I have my morning ritual and this and the other, and I'm a big believer in everything that you're talking about. Let's talk a little bit about the education that people need, because at sometimes people's ears aren't adjusted to what may be simple but sounds complicated in your services and how you can help them, right? We all want a cell phone. We don't need to necessarily know how it's made. And then, people get nervous around technology. And so how do you simplify it for people to say, okay, here's the technology, here's how it works for you. And so you can start implementing it into your business, into your life, into your, right now.
Yeah. So we handle all the technology that is needed or to be done. The client tells us where to send our equipment to. We walk the person on the other end literally just has to turn the computer on, and we send instructions on how to do that, and we walk them through setting it up. So there's no fear of technology that they should have, because we have a team behind us that handles all that. We rehearse and we rehearse and we rehearse. So the day of the production, it's secondhand. We have a live stream Friday this week, and we've already started rehearsing yesterday. So it's like by the time the day of the show happens, everyone knows what's going on, so we can deliver broadcast quality show.
So let's talk about that comment. Everybody knows what's going on. I think in business, if you get down to even any meeting, group meeting, team meeting, one-on-one meeting, it doesn't matter. I could point to 1,000 things in business where I think a lot of times people don't know everything that's going on. I'm a big believer in over communicating and over articulating kind of systems and processes and why things get done. I think people get distracted when they don't know. It's not like you have to tell them every minute specific detail, but people want to be in the know. Something like this has to run efficiently and effectively. And so how do you get everybody in the know?
You just said the word, and I literally just had this conversation with a client 20 minutes ago. Systems, processes. Yeah. Any one of the people on my team could take off tomorrow. We'd have someone fill in, and that person who filled in will fit right in because we provide them with the systems and the processes to know how our production and what our workflow is like. Yeah. So, and I drive that. I may drive it quietly behind the scenes, but we drive the system and the processes and constantly providing to our people, to our team on how things should work. And those systems and processes are developed through team efforts as well. It's not just me coming up with it. It's, a little trial and error. What is the best way to do it? It's research. And then we put it out on paper and we share it with our entire team.
Yeah. I love everything that you're talking about. It's so interesting. I want to talk about, a lot of the stuff that, like the intro that you saw, that animation when I first started, and a lot of some of the other stuff that I use for my podcast is created by my buddy Paul Rogers, who has a company called socialmediavideos.com, I think it is. And so I had him, I do this, I have a private coaching group. Most of my coaching is one-on-one, but I do private coaching groups as well. And so he came and spoke yesterday to the group. And one of the things he was talking about is that people do not read anymore, they skim. And people don't necessarily watch videos. You need to do videos, but people don't necessarily always watch the videos, they read the subtitles. So I just want to repeat that again, right? So people don't, he was saying, pointing to studies that say people don't read on the internet anymore, they skim, but the videos they don't watch or listen to, they read the subtitles. And so, so it's like you almost got to say it 3 times, right? But so when it comes to live streaming video like you're doing, I just want your take on that, on what you're seeing, because it's so all over the board.
Yeah, so we do a lot of high-end sports type events or people talking about sports. So one of the live streams we're doing right now is around March Madness. Yeah. The people watching are invited to it. So it's they're there because they want to be there. They like the subject matter. They like the announcers that are talking about it. They're engaged because they're asking live questions that the talent will read and say their names. So the kind of stuff that we're doing, we've seen like real engagement because the people really want to be there and they like the subject that they're, that's being talked about. Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. All right. Let's rewind. Right. Sure. So you won an Emmy, right? So what was it like to win an Emmy and all the work and the discipline that needed to go into that moment?
So that was for, the Beijing Olympics. I work as a camera operator at NBC Sports and World Wrestling Entertainment. And so we won that Emmy for the Beijing Olympics. I was with the U.S. women when they won their gold medal, standing right next to Nasty Lukin and the rest of the team when they won their gold medal. So it was an awesome experience.
That's awesome. So I want to talk about cameramen for a minute because they are so important, right? So camera people, I worked my last year of college. I interned at Channel 7 and I worked behind the assignment desk. I wanted to be like the next Larry King, right? And before they changed the rules, they would send me out with the camera team all the time to do stories, and then they would dub me over with the real report. So I was like 3 days a week. I was interning for like 2 semesters. Awesome. And I would go out in these, breaking news things going 100 miles an hour in the car but the camera people, I think sometimes people forget about how important the camera people are, because they get the shot, they get the emotion, it's them, right? Like you have to rely a lot on the camera team to pick up on everything that a lot of times the reporter maybe isn't, like, they're trying to write their script that they have 30 seconds to say.
Right.
And so with that, am I right? I mean, just, yeah, because I think I am. Yeah.
Yeah. And
my question to that is I want to talk about just instincts and how, so, and how, what you pay attention to that connects with people, right? Like, because you're paying attention to 1 centimeter difference of where a shot is.
Right.
And so what's, how do you find that special moment, and how do you trust your instincts?
That's an awesome question. And a director of mine that I used to work with at NBC, John Gonzalez, said it this way: is think about what you're shooting, and if you step to the right or to the left and create a little depth of field, think about making a movie and how, just by 1 step this way or that way, how you can make it that much more interesting.
Right.
Or if you, instead of just standing there with the camera on your shoulder and looking flat, if you bend down your knee and now you're looking up at the subject and make them look as big as, like if you're on one knee shooting at a horse at the Kentucky Derby, make that horse shine because you're down low instead of just shooting flat. What can you do to kind of make a movie out of it?
Yeah, so cool. Cool. Well, there's nothing more important than people learn through story and lessons. And storytelling to me is applicable in every field, no matter what you do. And the people behind the camera are really the ones that make the story.
It's an awesome job.
Yeah, and I think people just kind of forget about that. Yes, the person in front of the camera has to bring in the emotion and kind of summarize things for everybody. I'm not taking away from their job.
Right.
But the people behind the scenes really do incredible work. So, because
the announcers would have nothing to talk about if there were no pictures.
Correct. All right. So rewind with me in a 2-minute version of your 49-year life, right? Because I'm a big believer that, I'm sure that you didn't map out the exact path of where you are today, 35 years ago. And so, what were some of the pivotal things that got you into your field in those kind of like wake up moments, knowing like, hey, this is what I'm passionate about, and this is kind of what led me here. Whether it's a mentor, a book, what were those guides along the way?
So I wanted to play in high school. I wanted to play professional baseball, and I set myself up that this is what I was going to do. And when it was becoming clear that I wasn't going to do that, I knew I needed a backup. I took an elective in high school, and it was a trip to NBC Studios and to see a TV show being taped. And I said, that's cool. Yeah. So I took it, and I immediately fell in love with television. Yeah. How can I make sports and television a career? And I fell in love with it. I went to college. That was the moment. And I only went to colleges that had television production programs. I was producing and directing hockey games in college. I knew exactly what I wanted to do was television sports. It took me a little while to get there, but when I finally got my first call for my first job, I met a guy named Ted, and he became a lifelong mentor. And one job became another job. It snowballed until I met a director from NBC, and I started doing Notre Dame football, which I did for 20 years, and the original XFL. But I always knew that I needed a backup. What if I got hurt? Or, because I was a handheld camera operator. I knew I needed a backup. So I started a company. One day, a good friend of mine was working at MSNBC at the time, and they were doing Imus in the morning. And Imus would occasionally go on the road and do his radio show from wherever. So he said, hey, Howie, are you available to shoot camera for Imus? And I was like, yeah, that'd be great. He goes, do you have any friends? I said, sure. And that was how my first company, HJZ Productions Crewing Company, started, which still is in business to this day. And that was my backup, was my hiring. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. It's those moments. My moment was when I was 18 years old. I was about to go to college. My dad gave me a set of tape sets by Brian Tracy, The Psychology of Success. And he said, Jonathan, I think you'll learn more from these people than you will at college. if you get less than a 3-point, I'm pulling you out of college. But I put it on my ears and I thought, oh, this is exactly what I want to do, right? I want to write books, coach people, grow companies. I've always wanted to do it. And I wanted to go into television because I wanted to be Larry King.
Right.
Then after college, I didn't want to live that life. That wasn't appealing to me. So I started an internet company instead. But those moments I always think are kind of like what an impact NBC had in your life is through your story. Right. Yeah. I love that. All right. So tell me this. So, if you had to look back and give your 20-year-old self a piece of advice, what would it be?
Follow your instinct. Follow your gut. Follow your instinct and follow your gut. And work hard. Yeah.
All right. Ready for a quick speed round?
Sure.
Favorite book and why?
Oh, favorite book. It was probably a business book by Bedros Keuilian that kind of got me started on this path where I'm at. Man Up.
Man Up. That's a great book.
Yeah.
I just bought that on Audible.
Oh, really? Bedros is awesome.
Yeah. It's a great book. Best piece of wisdom you've ever received?
Family first. This is a business that you travel a lot and you miss a lot of parties. Family first.
Yeah, that's important. Fast forward 100 years, what do you want your legacy to be?
That I was a good person and I loved my family and my friends.
Rewind that legacy. How do you live it every day?
I make sure I text my parents once a day, my kids once a day, my brothers once a day, and my wife is everything to me. Yeah,
I love it. Define yourself in one word.
Grateful.
Tell everybody last question. Favorite baseball player?
Favorite baseball player? Mickey Mantle.
All right. Tell everybody who your ideal clients are and how to get a hold of you.
My ideal clients are anyone that needs to get their content out, that needs help with a broadcast quality production. They can reach me at viridityentertainment.com, or my email address is hzales@viridityentertainment. I'm on social media at Howie Zales or at Howard Zales on LinkedIn.
I love it. So Howie, a couple of things I want to share. Sure. That resonate with me. Family first, knowing when to pivot, not being afraid to do research in something new, reinventing yourself, I think is kind of an absolute these days, right? We've all got to be reinventing ourselves. Yeah. The power of live stream is impactful, and you're doing a great job, getting into the homes, computers, TVs of everybody, which I think is great. I'm a business coach, and I work with successful people to get them unstuck. And I love having guests on the show who provide wisdom and information about their business that also help people get unstuck. So very grateful to have you on the show. And I'm
grateful too. Thank you.
Your words. Think Community. If Howie can help you guys, check them out at. Tell them your website.
Viridity Entertainment. ViridityEntertainment.com. VIRIDITY Entertainment.com.
I love it. And if you guys, I'm a big fan of free information. You can download my book and my ebook for free at my website, johndwoskin.com. Howie, this was great. I appreciate it. Think Community. If Howie can help you, please reach out. Thanks, everybody. Have an awesome rest of the day. Thanks, Howie.
Thank you, John. Super grateful.